Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing and talking about this Tudor Black Bay diving watch. This is, as you can see by the straight lines in the dial, the in-house version of the Black Bay diving watch, and of course with the gilt details on the dial and the red bezel, it's of course the red version. This watch is also available in a few different versions. You've got the one with the blue bezel and with these silver accents on the dial, and of course you also have the, I guess you could say, the classic Black Bay Diver with the black bezel and the gilt or gold details on the dial. In terms of this watch's dimensions, it is quite a chunky but still a wearable piece. In terms of its diameter, the watch is about 41. In terms of the watch's lug-to-lug distance, and this is a very important measurement, the watch is about 49 or 50, which is good. I generally say anything below 50 is wearable for most people. And in terms of this thickness here, this is a big point of contention for a whole lot of people, and I can understand why. You've got a thickness of about 15 millimeters. So quite a chunky piece in terms of the thickness here. I gotta say though, it looks great. The watch, of course, in terms of its design, is kind of a 60s piece, and you can definitely see some of those elements here in the watch. You've got the aluminum bezel, which will fade with time. You've got the gilt details on the dial, which personally I'm not a huge fan of, but they're there. You've got the snowflake hour hand and all that. This is a quintessential Tudor watch. You have, of course, an oyster style bracelet with the fake rivets here on the side. I know a lot of people don't like that and get quite annoyed by it. Personally, I'm kind of neutral on this subject. So there's that. In terms of finishing on this watch, I gotta say the finishing is great. There's not a whole lot of details going on here, except you have a fine beveled edge here, like many Rolex and Tudor models have. Looks great. You've got polished sides, a slight curve here on each part of the lugs. You've got the usual deal here at the back in terms of the case back, nothing too special. You've got the caliber number, the model number and all that. One thing that I noticed is the crown action with this movement is fantastic. It is incredibly smooth, and screwing and unscrewing the crown is perfect. The thread feels nice, everything's good in terms of that. The winding of the watch is really quite interesting because there's very little resistance, and it does not make a sound unless you put the watch up to your ears. It is incredibly quiet, and you can barely even tell that you're winding the watch, which is interesting. I do also like the nice detail here that is red on the tube of the crown. I think that looks great. We don't have any crown guards, so if you do bump this watch, and if you're quite unlucky and you happen to bump it right on the crown, that could take some damage, so be aware of that. You've got a boxed sapphire crystal. It's kind of very slightly domed. I think it looks great. It's sapphire. It does not have anti-reflective coating, as you can see, which in real life is not a big problem. It doesn't disturb the legibility of the watch that much, so yeah, doesn't matter. The crown has the Tudor rose, of course, which has this kind of in black. I don't know if that will fade off with time. It could possibly do that. I'm going to show you my Tudor watch, which I own myself. This is a loaner piece from a supporter of the channel. My Tudor piece also has the same kind of black, almost paint on the crown, and I'm not sure if that will fade with time, but it will be interesting to see. Oh, and by the way, this is my wrist check, the Tudor Glamour Date Day on the Odd Face leather strap. Fantastic watch, I like this a lot. In terms of the dial, we have a simple dial, the quintessential diving watch layout in terms of the triangle there at 12 o'clock. We got the rectangular pieces here at 3, 6, and 9, and then the rest of those are rounded hour markers. We have the snowflake hand, basic hour hand, snowflake seconds hand. No date, very simple, legible, and easy to read dial. So that is all fantastic. The bezel action is just fantastic on this watch. It's probably the best bezel that I have ever used. It feels incredible. It's a 60-click bezel, and when you get it into the zeroing position, it does kind of click in with a different chunk and sound, and it does give some more resistance when you're trying to get it from the 0 to the 1, so that you can easily tell that it is at the zeroing position. So they've got a whole lot of details here that make this watch a luxury piece, which is great. In terms of the overall feel of the watch, this is an incredibly solid feeling watch. It is quite heavy. Bracelet, nice, solid. It does have a small taper, as you can see, entirely brushed except for the sides. The clasp, just fantastic, as all Tudor clasps are. You've got these ceramic pieces here on the sides, which will make sure that the clasp will stay nice and crisp for the entirety of its lifetime, and the action is fantastic. Really solid, really nice, looks great. I love how they have incorporated the Tudor shield here at the clasp. Looks fantastic. So the movement. Well, the movement is an in-house piece, and I'm going to bring up the specifications here. This movement Tudor has actually licensed to Breitling, so you will see this movement in a few different Breitling models, and in turn Breitling has decided to, or basically they traded. Tudor gave Breitling the rights to produce this movement, and Breitling gave Tudor the rights to produce the Breitling B01 chronograph movement, which is pretty much one of the best chronograph movements on the market today. It really is quite fantastic. But in terms of this movement, it's called the MT 5602. It beats away at 28,800 VPH. It's got a nice and long power reserve of 70 hours. It's got a jewel count of 25. The balance spring in this watch is made out of silicon, which means it's non-magnetic. So exposing this watch to magnetic fields should not be that big of a problem in terms of the accuracy there. You've got a variable inertia balance. The movement, of course, hacks, and of course it's hand wound. In terms of the automatic features inside of this watch, it is a bi-directional rotor, so it's a quiet rotor, and yeah, it's great. So in terms of the accuracy here, this watch in particular is running at about minus 1 second per day, which is fantastic. It's well within the criteria for COSC. As you can see on the dial, this watch is chronometer certified, so if the watch happens to run faster than +6 or slower than -4, the watch definitely should go back to the AD and they will fix the watch for you. They will regulate the movement. So what's left? Well, let's see how this watch wears on my 19.5 centimeter wrist. As you can see, this watch wears very nicely on my wrist. It's a great size. Oh, and also the lug width is a 22. So if you want to find some aftermarket straps, that's the width of which you're going to be looking for. But yeah, it's a comfortable watch on the wrist. In terms of the size, it's a nice diving watch size, although I would like to see a smaller version of this. And of course they have the Tudor Black Bay 58, but they only have it in the black version. So I am waiting for them to release the same watch with the red bezel and the blue bezel, and hopefully also some new color combinations. That would be quite great. And maybe I would pick something like that up in the future. Very comfortable on the wrist. A lot of people are complaining about the thickness of this watch, which is understandable, but I mean, it doesn't really disturb me that much. It's not annoying. It doesn't look that out of place in my honest opinion. As you can see here, the thickness is not that crazy. I mean, it is a thick watch, but come on, it's not that thick. So overall, I gotta say, I quite like this watch. It is, you know, extremely solid. And if you like the vintage design of the watch, if you love the looks that this watch gives you, the design, the history of this, all that, you're not going to be disappointed in terms of the build quality, the finishing, the movement and all that. So it's a very kind of no compromise diving watch. It is 200 meters of water resistance. It does not have 300 like the Submariner or the Seamaster has. But then again, 200 and 300, not a huge difference for us desk divers and the occasional pool and beach goer, I guess. So that's not a huge problem. And at this price point, which is around 3,000 euros brand new, basically you're getting a killer deal, a killer watch for the price. There is no other watch in this price range that offers this amount of watch for the money. The movement is great. The bezel action, fantastic. The build quality, just exquisite. The finishing is done very nicely. The bracelet, extremely comfortable. And there's a whole lot of details here around the watch, which makes the watch a luxury piece. So what do you guys think about this watch? Please do feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it in the future. And with that said, I'll see you in my future videos. Bye bye.